Welcome to Rom Wills Money Matters. Vending shows are a great place to get a business started. Vending shows, and I touched on this a bit in my last episode where I talked about making contacts at a vending show, and it would hook me up with 5 other vending shows. And of course, each one I do, make contacts, business contacts, made some romantic contacts too, but that's for my main channel. But I'm gonna tell you what, vending shows get you a long way. You know, it's funny. I remember the first time I really vended, it wasn't really at a show, but it was at a singles event at someone's house. And he set me up with a table in one of the emptier rooms. And so I was there, and I did pretty well. And it was funny, there was a guy saying, "Oh yeah, you can't make money this way." Well, I didn't make total money that way, but I made a whole lot of money that way and made a bunch of business contacts. But it was something that got me started. See, and I'm gonna tell you what, if you have a business selling products, maybe service too, depending on what it is, vending shows are a great place to get off the ground. A great place because you have several factors there. One, you have a place. Let's start it from the beginning. They usually don't charge that much. We're talking a few $100s, and honestly, if you're in an area with a flea market, just a regular flea market, which you call it flea market, you still vending. It could be less than $100. Now I haven't vended in a while. Maybe it's a little bit more, but it depends on where you at. And indeed, there's a lot of just regular flea markets. They'll let you. Most you might need is sometimes you don't even need a license for them. Sometimes you don't even need a license at first. Now, if you're gonna be there permanently, because sometimes people just getting rid of some old clothes or something, they'll set up at one of these places. But it's a great place. It's not that much to set up. Sometimes you can set up with just a table. And depending on the show, the organizers provide the table. You just got to show up and set up. And indeed, with a local mall, they got some empty stores. The mall owners actually will rent it out for different events. They'll rent out one of those empty stores. And then, you set it up. So you starting off inexpensive. Say, okay, you're getting your business started. You have a product. Let's say you selling soaps. I like natural soaps, right? All right. You start there. You start right there. All right. Depending on how well they advertise the event and how many people come through, yeah, you're going to have some people come through, but they can get your business information, your social media, and they're getting your product. And depending on your product, it's like, oh, okay, they'll come back. And indeed, a lot of times they'll look for you you have some of the shows that are regular. Like I said, I was talking about flea markets, but then you have vending shows, festivals, stuff like that. All right, so it's inexpensive to get a table or to set up a booth, however you're going to do it. Relatively inexpensive. Okay, you got your products. You start building your clientele right there. Like some people might say, hey, can you write your email down or something? You give them your social media information. And especially if you continue to deal with whoever the organizer is. And a lot of times they might have outdoor spaces. Farmers markets, they do it. But people are constantly coming through. All right, so you got clientele right there. And indeed, depending on where you at, you can make all of your money there. I've known vendors who they made their whole fortunes just at either flea markets, vending shows, everything. But here's the beauty of it. You can get your stuff started. You can get feedback from people. You can learn how to really engage people to sell your product. But you starting off relatively cheap. Now, instead of paying some people might say, well, I want that store right away, but you're paying a lot of money. And it could be a while before you get a clientele to really make a profit. See, you starting off it's very little you starting off with at a vending show. then you can build it up slowly. You can build it up slowly. And then you building up your clientele slowly. And as you grow, then you might be able to move up, maybe to a kiosk in a mall, maybe depending on what it is, maybe even have a brick and mortar store, and also an online presence. But you put yourself right there in front of people, and you can just slowly build it up. And indeed, a smart thing to do, even if you have a store, because I know I have a friend, I've known her for a few decades, but she has a store in a Baltimore area. But she will still do vending shows. She still does vending shows. Like, you have a lot of people, they might have a small store, but then they'll do some vending as well. So they actually expanding. So it's so much you can do with it. But let's just focus just on the vending part. It's great to get started. Great to see what your market is. Great to see what actually sells for you. And then one of the things with vending, you're interacting directly with the customers. They meet you. And, you know, depending on the customer, they can give you some feedback as well. They can give you some feedback as well, which is good, which you can use. As long as it's constructive criticism. Or not even criticism, I'll just say feedback. They can let you know what maybe something else going on, or they can maybe point out something. Maybe there was something in the product or something that didn't work right. They can tell you right away. You know, hopefully they don't have an attitude about it. You can give them their money back and just say thank you and then do something. But it's a great place because it's a low startup. It's a low money startup. You're not starting with some big business and everything. Now, I'm gonna hit that in two ways. Okay, you're not starting out with a big brick and mortar where you paying rent, all of this stuff, and it can be tough. There's a lot of places that'll start off in a mall, but they don't make a profit. It's better to start off small and build. Start off small and build. So, that's the thing. That's the thing. And then I'm gonna tell you what, because I know a lot of people will say, well, Jay, just start off online or something like that. People need to know who you are. See, one of the beauties of vending, you can meet your customers directly, make that connection, make those contacts I talked about in the previous episode. And then you never know, like, you never know, like, say you have a product that, I don't know, is good for a group of people. Let me use the soap example again. Now, you might have a customer there. You might have that one customer there who is connected with a bigger group. And they say, hey, why don't you come sell it here? Boom, you got a bigger crowd. I'll use an example, and I've used this a couple times. I remember it was more of a book signing it was at a local vegan restaurant down in the Baltimore area. It's not there anymore. They got plenty, but this one isn't there anymore. The owner of it moved down south, so she got something different. But I remember I was doing a book signing. I only sold one book, just one book, right? Now somebody say, oh, that's terrible, but I sold it to someone who had a house where she would have seminars, and even had like some local TV shows filmed at shows and everything. So that one $10 book made me several $1,000s going through her, making that business contact. So just the vending though, that's a great place to start. I want y'all to think about that. If you have a product, and depending on the service thing is a weirder thing. That's a little bit harder, depending on the service. Like if it's like giving people massages or facials, I've seen that, or something like that, or even at hair shows, you would have some barbers who would show up and give haircuts right there on the spot. That can get you a lot of customers too. So it depends on the service, but the product especially, you can go a long way. You can go a long way. And also, if you're doing different vending shows in the area or traveling and stuff, you're actually expanding your reach to different people. All of those are customers. So I want y'all to think about that. If you got some product, especially, and depending on the service, start off with a vending show. Find something. Really, you could just go online. I found vending shows just going to Eventbrite. Like I did one in Delaware, and I just went to Eventbrite, and it was very lucrative. Still got some friends from that. So I want y'all to think about that, especially if you have a product. So anyway, that's all I have for now. Y'all know the deal. Let's go make that money.